Duke Energy is
closing one of its oldest and dirtiest coal plants, the Riverbend Steam Station on Mountain Island Lake. But neighbors are concerned about this over contamination from ponds filled with coal ash residue. I-Team reporter Stuart Watson finds it could affect all of us because the lake is our only source of safe drinking water.
I have pet turtles that I get from here.
Anna Behhke, her friend Maddie, Mom Sarah, and Dad Dave all live on Mountain Island Lake. And Mountain Island Lake lives next to the Riverbend Steam Station.
I can see it from my bedroom window.
And even though Riverbend closes in April, it's leaving behind a kind of a mess.
It's good that the plant's going, but not the coal ash ponds. We're not sure about those yet.
For almost a century, Riverbend burned coal to make electricity. What's left over is coal ash, millions of tons of it, watered down and dumped in ponds. Those ponds flow directly into Mountain Island Lake. Anna wakeboards here, paddles here, skis here.
We swim here, and it's just, we can't swim in a dump.
So when it came time for her 6th grade science project, Anna and her friend Maddie decided to test the water for arsenic.
Because it's our drinking water and it's right beside where I live.
It's not just Anna's drinking water. Charlotte, Gastonia, Mount Holly, Belmont all draw most of their drinking water through intakes, like giant straws slurping the water out of Mountain Island Lake.
All right, I need everybody to sit down.
Anna's school is named for the lake, Mountain Island Charter.
We tested the arsenic levels closer and higher to the Riverbend power plant, which is just down the road.
And even though many of these students pass by the Riverbend plant on the way to school, Anna says most people don't think about it.
The ash ponds in Mountain Island Lake are not lined and drain into the lake, which is our drinking water.
Since there's no lining, no barrier, the coal ash ponds seep into the lake through the ground. And they gush directly into the lake through a stream called an outfall. At the outfall, Anna and her partners found arsenic at levels 20 times the EPA limit for drinking water.
This is what comes out of those ash ponds.
Anna isn't the only one testing for arsenic. 150 miles east at Duke University, researchers use sophisticated equipment to track arsenic.
This is the source when we put the water sample.
Geochemist Anna Behhke used this mass spectrometer to find a kind of fingerprint, tracing the arsenic in the lake to the arsenic from the coal ash.
In addition, we can tell this is coming from coal ash and not coming from other source, stormwater, wastewater, or other potential source of contamination.
Dr. Behhke tested the so-called effluent, that's the stream rushing out of the outfall at the coal ash ponds.
What we found that the effluent, the outfall, contains high level of arsenic.
By the time the runoff reaches Charlotte's water intake about 3 miles downstream, it's, well, watered down. How worried should you be?
Well, that's a tough one. I think for drinking water, our data showing has not reached to the level of concern.
CMUD, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Utilities District, regularly tests the drinking water for contaminants.
Copper, zinc, arsenic.
So far, they haven't spotted any, but Behhke says under extreme conditions like a drought, the arsenic in the muck outside the water intake could erupt into the raw water supply.
The way I would describe it, we're living kind of next to a volcano. It could erupt any time. Right now, we are in good shape.
CMUD treats the raw water before we drink it at giant water treatment plants like this one on Highway 16. And the utility can take out the arsenic, but it'll cost you.
Expensive, yes. I think the notion that coal is cheap is not true.
We continue to find that the overall water quality in Mountain Island Lake is very good.
Duke's own testing shows arsenic levels at the outfall up to 7 times the EPA's limits for drinking water. But that's legal because the EPA doesn't expect anyone to drink this water before it's treated.
Duke Energy absolutely is in compliance with existing state and federal regulations as it relates to ash basins.
True, but environmental groups are suing right now to raise those standards. And Dr. Behhke is concerned with long-term effects, since arsenic accumulates, building up in the muck.
Eventually, it would affect the system as a whole, and eventually all our ability to use Mountain Island Lake.
Which brings us back to Anna. She says she had one aim in her arsenic test other than a good grade on the science project.
Let people know that kids have a voice too.
Because when it comes to the long-term cost of coal ash, it's her generation that will pay the price.